Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the first Life Clough podcast. I am Gillian Formenton, your host and Engineering Director for Clough. This series of podcasts will explore the exciting world of Clough and the industry-leading initiatives and programs we've developed to support our people, featuring special guests from across the business sharing their experience working at Clough. Yep. I am thrilled today to be interviewing not one but two special guests, Hamid Sharafazad, Chief Electrical Engineer, and Matt Decker, an Electrical Engineering graduate. Today we're discussing Clough Graduate Program, so let's get into it. So Hamid, thank you for joining us. I know you've got a very, very busy schedule, but it's an absolute thrill to talk to you today about our graduate program, and I know it's one of the things that are most precious to your heart in your role as the Chief Electrical Engineer. But would you just say a little about yourself and tell us a little about your role as we get into this?
Sure. I'm a Curtin graduate. I finished my studies in 95 and I got into the business straight into 96 and haven't looked back. I joined Clough in 2001 and I've been working on back-to-back projects. I got the opportunity to become the Chief Electrical Engineer in 2007. And ever since, I've been in this capacity and working alongside many, many wonderful engineers, not to mention graduate engineers and their development.
All right, great, thank you. Well, again, thank you for joining us today. I think this is going to be a great conversation. So, Matt, So first, I just want to say congratulations for graduating as an electrical engineer.
Thank you.
It's such an exciting time to be and to become an engineer. I graduated over 30 years ago and I've enjoyed an incredible career so far, and I think yours is going to be even better. So congratulations.
Thanks.
And also congratulations for your choice to start your career with Clough.
Yes.
So do you want to say a little bit about why the Clough graduate program? You know, we're going to get into the kind of benefits that you've had so far, both as a graduate and as an intern here. But why Clough? What made you choose us?
For me, Clough it was a company that could offer me a lot of different opportunities. Like, for starters, we're a contractor and work with the contracting company as like a engineer just getting started. That's the best way to get your hands on heaps of different types of projects. I get to do office work, I go on site, I can do brownfields work that I'm doing now with like Woodside, and then I can get started on like greenfields projects too. So it's just all the experience that I can get from Clough, which I think is really great. There's a lot to learn here.
Yeah, very, very good. So I want to talk a little bit about, well, how you approached your, because you would have had many choices, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for people that are applying to be a graduate at Clough? How would you recommend that they prepare?
Well, first, do like your own research into the company and see if it is like what you want to do. Like, there's a lot of different companies out there offering different things. Speak to your friends as well, because they're also in a similar boat to you, and they have like good perspectives on like what's being thrown at them and what they don't like about stuff. That's how I learned a lot about like where I sort of wanted to head like into with like companies, because I didn't know too much coming straight from uni about like what the industry does have to like offer exactly. Also going to a lot of networking events, like there's all these university clubs and they bring in like industry professionals to talk about their companies. So I think I went to one that had Clough there as well. So it's a good way to actually hear what you can get from the place you're going to work at.
Okay, great. Yeah, really good advice.
Okay, so I think really my question is about how do we help people prepare for their interview? So maybe Hamid, we'll start with you. Like, what advice would you give our graduates entering the industry, and how do they best prepare for an interview with Clough?
Great question. Look, the first thing is to understand the company that you're applying to, what it is they do, and is it aligned with what you're expecting as part of your career path. I think that sets the tone when you enter the interview room. And of course, when you come into the interview, the nerves are up there and everyone's a little bit nervous. And we try and tone it down as best as we can, because ultimately it's a conversation. It's a conversation with, Clough people, just to understand you and for you to understand a little bit more about us. during the interview itself, it's all about communication, because we talked about communication and how important that is, within the business. It's understanding whether how well you communicate with some of the questions, and the questions are not trick questions. It's really to make you think about how it applies to you, given your background, the way you've worked. Sometimes you do part-time work, sometimes you're on committees, within project work that you're doing at university. So how that communication helps you get the best of the situation. We look at team skills, and we look at interpersonal skills. We look at see how well you know the business, and what your aspirations are going forward within the business, and how that aligns. We also look at whether those aspirations are realistic or not, and we have that conversation based on our experiences and the industry that we're in, and how that applies to the graduate. As long as you're prepared for those type of questions and topics, you're well prepared.
Brilliant, great, thank you. And Matt, what advice would you give people in terms of preparing for an interview with Clough?
Yeah, well, on top of what Hamid said, I think also as a uni student, you've got those opportunities there to be part of engineering clubs, and talking about that in your interview process is a very good point to have. And yeah, Clough just want to hear about you, so don't stress out too much. They want to know if you're a good fit for them, and you also want to know if you're going to be a good fit for them as well. So yeah, it's just the interview process is really a conversation. I think my Clough interview was probably the best interview I've ever had. I was just able to say things, and it was a chat, and it went pretty well.
So Hamid, as we said a few minutes ago, I know this is one of your favourite things to do. What are some of the highlights for you? What do you love about working with our graduates?
Well, they bring in new energy to the group, which is, I think, something that sometimes it is really needed as part of the an expanding group, especially on projects. They bring in new ideas, new energies, and that's not to say that the older engineers don't have it, but it's always good to inject that energy into the team. It's always great to have graduates in the mix, and certainly having more graduates is better than having less graduates.
And how do you work out who's going to be doing what? Because we have a number of different project opportunities and a number of different things we're working at any time. How do you work out how to connect graduates to different parts of the work?
That's a good question. Look, it's at the end of the day, when we interview graduates at prior to employment, we talk about what the business is about, and we look after what their interests are. And once we know that, it makes it easier to connect the dots with where the graduate sits, what their capabilities are, and where they would best fit within the company. So depending on the projects, and we have varied projects across varied industries, we are then able to connect the graduate to the work.
So when graduates first join us, you don't expect them to know everything, do you?
No, not at all.
Very good. Could you say a bit about how do you help people learn more about where their strengths are, and then maybe fill in some of the gaps in their development as you go forward?
The graduate program runs for 3 years within Clough, and part of the program is to ensure that graduates get adequate exposure to the various capabilities that we have as part of a skill pool. The other aspect of the graduate program is to ensure that we have strong mentorship and to connect the graduates with experienced people, because it's all about looking after the future stars, Clough stars that are up and coming. Once you've connected that, it makes it easier, because then the graduate is able to learn from those engineers going forward.
Now, Matt, there's a couple of questions for you. What would you say have been your favourite parts of being a graduate at Clough so far, or maybe some of the highlights?
For me, I think one of my highlights has been just very recent. I've started going into work in the Woodside building to help out Woodside close out some of the projects that they're doing with Clough here. That's sort of been a bit of a leadership aspect for me, like the Woodside team, which is cool. I can come back and see overall like how work's performing and things like that. So I'm enjoying that. Also, I've been asked to go onto site soon, so I find that very exciting. I've never been on site yet either, so yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, very good. And that I'm thrilled that you're getting those opportunities. Yeah. Okay, good. And then, I mean, I hate that question of what do you see yourself doing in 5 years? So I'm not going to ask you that. But, you know, we all have a bit of an idea of the kind of difference we want to make in the future. And one of our commitments in the Clough graduate program is you do get a bit of a taste of the different facets of engineering, including leadership, like you just mentioned. Definitely the opportunity to develop your technical discipline, but teamwork, and even through to project management, should you want to. When you kind of look at the people that you've been working with, where do you think your aspirations lie right now? Like, what's interesting you at the moment?
I'm sorry to say this, Hamid, but I think chief electrical engineer is something that like I kind of aspire to end up as like one day. Some sort of like engineering management or like chief electrical is definitely something that stands out for me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I won't hold you to that, but that's a smart choice. Okay, good. I want to talk a little bit about how the disciplines work together. Now, and I know we haven't really prepared this, right? But we have obviously electrical engineering, we have mechanical and piping engineering, we have process engineering that engages a lot of our chemical engineering graduates, we have civil engineers, structural engineers, and also instrumentation and control as a separate kind of discipline within Clough. Maybe Hamid, you work closely with the other chiefs and therefore having the graduates work closely together as well. What kind of things do we do to ensure that people are learning from each other and making sure that we have really a holistic view of our design going forward?
It's a very good question. Part of our business is all about communication and making sure that we understand what the other disciplines do, because we're all interconnected. In a way, the decisions that we make on projects impact other disciplines and vice versa. Their work also impacts us. So it's always good to have a broad understanding of what the other disciplines are about. Part of the program that we have is allowing engineers to also mix in with the instrument control people. So we do this swap, if you like, for a few weeks and months to allow graduates to be able to experience what the instrument and control people are doing, and vice versa, what the instrument control engineers understand from electrical. And that allows them to have a better understanding and be able to work together closely. It's not so much becoming subject matter experts in each other's fields, but to understand enough so that be able to communicate the needs.
Yeah, very good. Because I imagine regardless of what pathway engineers take past their graduate years, they're going to need to be able to lead through those interfaces and have a fundamental understanding what all the disciplines are doing.
Correct.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So back to you, Matt. Have a think about what are some of the challenges you've had so far, and feel free to talk about things that we've messed up as well. What are some of the challenges that you've faced so far as a graduate, or you can think about the intern time you've had here as well, and how have you either worked that out or got what you needed to keep moving forward?
For me, I think the biggest challenge coming into work would have been learning how to organize like my workload. Like as a graduate, you want to be saying yes to as much as you can do because you want to get experience with like everything. But like when you do that, you start your projects and stuff start building up. So sitting down and trying to balance, what I'm going to work on today, what can like wait. So kind of coming with like priority systems has been like a bit of a challenge for me because like everybody wants things like right now. And like that's different to uni, whereas like everything's got like a set like due date, and like now people's like, okay, I want this like today, but like really maybe it could like wait till like tomorrow or something. So it's trying to have that discussion with people because it's all like team collaboration, and then figuring out for yourself how you're going to get things done. Yeah,
very good. And what kind of help have we been able to give you, or how do you prioritise what's important to do? And
well, first like I look within like the projects itself. So like Woodside, for example, that's my main project that I'm on, so I'm able to prioritize the different work between there. But then also I have like other projects like outside of Woodside. For example, we're doing this procurement project with Hamid, with the other electrical and some mechanical graduates and interns. So there's work for that as well, which have their own priorities and due dates coming up too. So those can't be like prioritized higher or lower than like other project work, for example, because they're two completely different things. So today, for example, I split half my day to working on that procurement project work and half my day to Woodside project work, and then I've been prioritizing things in between those 2 half days so I can get them both done together.
That's great. Good answer. Fantastic. Thank you. Hamid, you've been with Clough a very long time, and I know that like being an engineer is something you're very proud of. When you look out at the future and the opportunities that Clough has now, like what excites you most?
Well, with the obviously the new acquisition, WeBuild acquired Clough. They've got a new direction, a new strategy for us, but more importantly around sustainability and going forward with the sustainability solutions. Clough has been quite active in this space, and it's always a welcome approach from the new ownership of the business to be able to progress in this area. It's certainly an up-and-coming area that we need to focus on and develop in. So I'm quite excited about that going forward. And of course, the new energy space as well, which is something new for us as well. Engineers of today, especially our new graduates, are certainly going to get some real-world experience in these areas.
Yeah, very good. That's what excites me as well. Like one of our roles at Clough has been for some time really assisting our clients and being responsible for their energy needs and helping with those transition elements. There's such a world of things that needs to be contributed to, and Clough is very well positioned to be contributing there, as well as exciting infrastructure. We've got the Perdaman project, which is about to get really underway, which is all about fertiliser for the world, really. So there's some very exciting things ahead. So Matt, what advice would you give people? So if you imagine people maybe in their 4th year of their degree, maybe 5th if they've been there a little longer, and they're looking at, well, where do they want to position themselves for their first 3 to 7 years? What would you recommend? Maybe share a bit about some of the thought process that you went through when you were making that choice.
As in like determining places to work.
Yeah, different places to work and how to set yourself up for what could be a 30 or 40 year career.
Yeah, I think it's very important to be open-minded with everything. It's good to know that you don't know everything and that you have heaps to learn. So for me, choosing Clough was one of the answers to that, because there's all the opportunities here I mentioned before that I can get out of it. And your advice would be just to, in Hamid's words, be a sponge, take in everything, say yes to every opportunity, and yeah.
Yeah, very good. Something that was important to me, and I think it's important to most people when they're finishing their degree, is what's going to set you up to make sure that you can be chartered in your chosen discipline. Within the next year or maybe 2 in Western Australia, we are going to be dealing with, as a community of engineers, being registered under West Australian legislation. Other states in Australia have already dealt with that. So being chartered is something that's very important, and something that Clough does actively support our graduates in. Now, you will have been just at the beginning of that process, Matt. What have you noticed so far with regards to information available to you about being chartered and what you'll need to grapple with for that next milestone?
Yeah, Clough has actually been very good at giving a lot of information for becoming chartered. They've had a few lunch and learns here with Engineers Australia where they've talked to us about the chartering process. They've outlined all of the steps there and they've given us advice on how to get started now, even though it says it after 5 years, that's when you can start applying for it. I'm only first year out of uni, but there's already things I can start doing now that's been made very clear to me to help ease that process. So yeah, Clough is definitely offering a good way forward at that.
Great. Excellent, thank you. So, Hamid, when you're looking at applications from graduates, what are some of the things that you look for
the cover letter and CV really it's about the candidate, and the candidate needs to present themselves as best as they can. It's looking at to see how proactive they are, how connected they are with the industry, whether they're also involved in activities outside university as well, whether it's part of a committee at the university, or it's doing Engineers Without Borders activities, or whether it's getting involved with Engineers Australia. It's really important to see that the candidate is connected with the industry. That's always a big tick. And of course, understanding from their cover letter exactly what it is they want to do. Because when you're applying, you need to understand the industry you're getting into. And everyone has different needs, and everybody has different aspirations going forward. But without that, it becomes confused. So it's really important that that sticks out. The connection, talking about yourself, and of course, being able to understand the industries that you want to get into.
What would you say to people who are thinking maybe their marks aren't good enough, or maybe they've been prioritising some other things during their university life as well? Because when we do look for people who are quite well-rounded now, you certainly need to have a good, solid technical degree. But what would you say about people that have maybe had to prioritise some other elements of life, may have had to work part-time to get through university?
Look, that's actually seen as a plus, not a minus or a negative in this case. The business that we're in, it's not always going to be a win after a win. Every now and then you're going to hit a hurdle and you're going to fall on your knees. And what we see through some of these graduates coming through and looking through their academic transcripts is that they have failed a unit or two. But they've come back and they've passed it with stronger marks. That to me is a plus. I don't see the failure of the unit as a negative. And that's the success stories that we have had, within our industry, because people do fail and we do make mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Marks play a role because it shows that, you are engaged and you're committed. At the same token, the actual weighted average is not a driving factor when you're selecting candidates. I don't put a lot of weight on it. I think being connected, being out there and being involved with the industry and knowing the industry insights, I think is far more important than just putting focus on actual scores and marks.
It takes more discipline and courage sometimes to be able to exercise the ability to come back from a failure than it does to be able to just kind of glide on through easily. So we certainly do look for those qualities. And if you do, if you are applying and you have, a history of being able to really deal with some challenges as you've been going through your degree or life so far, it's good to bring those to your application and your interview, so you can demonstrate to us how you've been developing those skills. Great, thank you. Just a question about our internship, right? Because Matt, you've been an intern, which yes. I think is a very, very smart thing to do. Some people listening to us talk today may be a little earlier in their degree and they're looking for pathways forward. Just a quick word or two about the opportunity you've had to be an intern at Clough, because those applications are opening soon too. So what's it been like being an intern here?
Yeah, being an intern here was very good. That got me straight onto the Woodside project when I came in. So that was great to get some experience there. As an intern, I started in my third year. So I really didn't know anything at all. And I was able to pick up a lot of skills by talking to other engineers around about what the work involves and seeing what's important factors in our industry to actually learn and important skills to have there.
What value has being an intern provided you in terms of where you're at now as a graduate?
I feel like if I hadn't done the internship program, where I am now as a graduate wouldn't be as far forward, because the internship program gave me the opportunity to kind of get settled with Clough, learn Clough's way of doing things and learn what the industry is about. So that way, as soon as I became a graduate, I was able to just hit the ground running and go with work that way, and like be sent to site very early on and go work in the Woodside building a bit. So yeah, without having that like prior experience, that would have been probably a different story. So the internship is a very good opportunity to get your feet wet.
Yeah, very good. And I'm just reflecting as you were talking then, Matt, that sometimes when I talk to our graduates that maybe a third or a fourth year graduate, they really do occur like sometimes they've got 10 years experience because they've been really able to, like you say, get their feet wet early and build on that right from during their degree. And I imagine the income that you earn as an intern during your degree would be really useful as well.
It was very nice.
Very nice indeed. So the internship, for those of you who are interested, it's the normal sort of the summer vacation time, but there's also opportunities to work 1 day a week during your actual year, which can keep you very connected, but also provide even more pocket money while you're studying. That would have been nice.
Clough is very flexible working around like your uni arrangements as well. If you have assessments and things, you don't have to worry too much. It's good to get that experience.
Great, thank you. Hamid, we've talked a bit about mentorship, and I'm going to ask you both questions about the opportunity of mentorship. But first, Hamid, as a chief engineer, tell me a bit about the way we mentor our graduates and really set them up for success.
Look, mentoring here at Clough is not a single approach. It's a multifaceted approach that we take. When it comes to mentorship, again, it's all about supporting the Clough future stars by connecting them with experienced engineers within the team. So that will be one approach, and the reason we do that, of course, is to make sure that they're learning from their successes, but also mistakes. I keep going back to mistakes because you learn from those mistakes. Learning from how to deal with difficult decisions that you would have to make, perhaps tap into their network as well. And then, of course, we put you on projects, which then has the ability to get you involved within teams of engineers amongst other disciplines as well and functions, and then going to site. So working with our clients, we have graduate exchange programs, which allows you to then parachute into their offices and then go onto their sites. And that's the multifaceted approach that we take, because we are, at the end of the day, we're a construction company with engineering capability. And for you to be a success and to give you all the tools you need as a graduate, it's important that you get that site exposure.
Very good. And Matt, what's been your experience of being mentored so far?
Well, I joined Clough's official mentorship program, which I thought was very good for me. I was able to learn from one of our project planners a lot of skills to help develop professionally. He'd worked on site as well, so he was telling me a lot of the ins and outs and how site is different to the office as well. So it's been great to learn from people like that. And then also, within the electrical engineering team, you can walk into the kitchen, you make yourself a coffee, and someone will just come and have a chat to you. And that's where I've learned a lot about what it is to be an engineer and things like that. They speak about their past experiences, and it's important to listen to that and learn. Well, I guess firstly as well, how things are different now than it was before. You have so many opportunities right now as a graduate compared to what some other senior engineers had when they first started off. And learning from their challenges and the knowledge that they have is very easy here, because people are just willing to talk to you and they want to share what they know.
Yeah, very good. Now, Clough has got over 100 years experience of engaging graduate engineers. I'm sure we've had graduates in our team for that long. A fairly recent advancement that I'm really proud of is what we call our graduate passbook. Okay, and what's your experience of that so far, Matt? We talked a bit about that earlier yesterday. When you have a look at the passport, how do you see that supporting you going forward, and what's that going to make available for you in your first few years?
I think the passport is a very good support to move forward. It's a way to see what's actually expected of you as a graduate in this program. If you just look at the whole graduate program, it's easy to get scared about that you don't feel like you're ready or good enough and whatever. But then you read the passport and you can see like outlined what these expectations are of you, and it's developed in a way that you're able to develop a certain number of skills, but from something a bit more basic to then as you get higher up in levels in the passport, more advanced.
So very good. And alongside the passport, we are also bringing in clearer rotations, we're calling it. So so far you're in a technical rotation now by the sound of it. Mm-hmm. So the way that we set up those first few years is depending on your interests and the type of graduate or the type of degree that you've done. There's a technical rotation. The intention is that you have at least a year working alongside the chiefs and the other senior engineers being mentored in your technical discipline, but then also having a year with an opportunity of more site work, and like you're saying, like the opportunity of going and working on client premises and our project work. But then there's also the opportunity or the other facets of a company like Clough, where there's project controls and having experience in that, maybe the opportunity to be closer to some of the financial part of the business, the opportunity of being more on the project management side and alongside other project professionals, which may be a little bit separate to engineering, but a very important part of really rounding out your graduate years. So I look forward to seeing what parts of the business that you get to participate with over the next few years too, Matt. All right, thank you. Thank you both very much for your time today. And if you're out there listening to us today and you're ready to apply for a Clough, to be part of the Clough graduate program, how you do that is you go to cloughgroup.com/careers and search graduate to explore the roles. We really invite you to have a look and please apply. Our commitment here at Clough is that we attract great graduates that want to do a varied range of work and really come here and express their engineering career fully with us. We've got an exciting pipeline of work and we need you. So I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Thank you for joining us today. I look forward to bringing you further Life at Clough podcasts.